into twice of RL. I square, should be measured, that is considering the network resistance is twice of RL. So I should be measured the voltage, effective voltage means open circuit voltage across this load network divided by twice RL, that will be the current, and that current I square, that current square into RL means the that will be exactly equal to the source network resistance, that will be exactly equal to the maximum power that been transferred to the load network. So that is the solution you can make using maximum power transfer theorem. uh, I think there is a page break option. I can go to the next page also for continuation of this.
Sir, insert the new page,
Insert
blank page.
blank page. Okay, okay. So now I can consider this. If a network, we have already learned how to convert a voltage source into current source and current source into voltage source, provided.
Sir,
Yes,
sir, how we can convert a current source into voltage source if there is no parallel
that
resistance?
is my point. That is my point. That is my point. Some problem will be occurred that source transformation. So you have already resolved that. You have already found that when there is a voltage source that is in series with the current source, the voltage source is there. Sorry, voltage source in series with the resistance. You can convert if it is voltage source V and resistance R. It can be equivalently converted into a current source as per the polarity. This is your plus, this is minus. So if you close the circuit, then current will draw in this direction. So if you convert this, yes, then it will be parallel resistance equivalently. You can consider so that current that will be V by R and resistance will be same. So vice versa, it is applicable when there is a current and parallel resistance is there. If it is I and resistance is R, so it can be equivalently considered as a voltage source. Since the current is driving in upward direction, so voltage source polarity should be in upward direction. So plus minus, and a series resistance is there. And this source voltage should be R into I, and resistance will be same. But there are different circuits. That circuit have no uh, voltage source with parallel resistance and voltage source in series resistance, or current source in parallel resistance. Like this kind of circuit you may develop. You may have that there is a voltage source and series resistance is there. Actually, no series resistance. There is another resistance, but source having no series resistance. There is a current source here and a series resistance here. No parallel resistance at all. So this is a 7-volt source. This is a 7 ampere current, 2 ohm resistance, 3 ohm resistance, 1 ohm resistance, 2 ohm resistance, 1 ohm resistance, and these are, I'm just numbering this to point AB, and here C, D. You see that the 7-volt source, there is no series resistance at all. In the 7 ampere current, there is no parallel resistance at all. So how to convert this uh, circuit for that should be easier circuit for solving. So first of all, if I solve this circuit, firstly I have to convert this current source into a voltage source, but I cannot directly convert this current source into voltage source because current source having no parallel resistance. So I can rather resolve the circuit into an equivalent circuit. I am keeping the voltage source same, that is a 7-volt source, and there is a resistance. There is 1 ohm resistance, there is 2 ohm resistance, and then there are two terminals. This is AB, this is A, this is B, this is a C, and this is your D terminal. And I am marking that this is your, say, E terminal. So there is a resistance. Two ohm resistance. So actually, you see here from the first circuit that current is going from C network and it drives to a point, say, towards this point. That is, say, I'm marking this point that is F. So there is a point F. So current source in between C point and F point. So here C point and F point, there is a current source. So this current is driven by this source. I can equivalently consider that current is driving from C point to F point. So it can drive also in another path. It can be driven to another path also. So I have my initial point is C and terminating point is F. So I can go from C to F to this point, to these directions also. Means I can go to C to F points in this direction, through this direction, and then this direction. So I can, 7 ampere current source can be driven in another path. Your beginning point is C and terminating point is F. So I'm just driving. Actually, there are resistances. Already there is a resistance. There is 3 ohm resistance. There is also another resistance. There is 1 ohm resistance. So I can drive this current source equivalently. So this point to this point. This point to this point. and this point to this point.
Sir, why you are not going to E?
Actually, the point where current source is there, that is in between C point and F point. There is a point F. So I have to consider these two terminals. So there are different options. So you want to go from, say, your Salt Lake campus to your main campus. So there are different ways you can follow. So one way you can consider for your convenience. So I am conveniently convert the current driven from C point to F point in another way. So that is C point to D point to this point. Say I can mark this point G. This is G point. This is your E point. So C to D, D to G, and G to F. So now I can get the voltage source is there. Resistance 1 ohm, 2 ohm, that is 1 ohm resistance, 2 ohm resistance. This is 7 volt. This is A point. This is B point. And current source in parallel resistance I can get. So 3 ohm resistance and this current source magnitude should be same, 7 ampere. So current is driven from C to D point. So voltage equivalent voltage source should be, polarity should be maintained as per this current directions. The polarity should be such that, and there is a resistance also. This is your plus terminal, this is minus terminal. So actually 7 ampere and 3 ampere. So current will be 21 volt. Sorry, voltage will be 21 volt. And the resistance is same, that is 3 ohm resistance. Then your another resistance is there. Then D to G point, the current is driven, that is also 7 ampere. So polarity direction will be same, that the current should flow from D to G point. So G point, so 7 ampere into 1 ohm, that is your 7 volt. And 1 ohm resistance. Now G to F point, and that is also a parallel resistance. So G2, current is flowing G to F point, but E and G points are same. So I can consider there is also current E and G point are same. So current is driven from say E to F. Equivalent I can consider. So then I can consider the polarity like this. Like this. So actual current is, that is 7 ampere and 2 ohm resistance. So 7 into 2 means 14 volt. This is your F point, and this is your E point. This is your C point. This is your D point. Now you can solve this circuit. This is your this is one loop. You can apply KVL. Just
Sir, the point F is open, sir.
Yes, point F is open. So you can apply. This is one. Say this is your I1 current, and another current that is flown, that is your I2 point. So you can solve I1 and I2, then two loops. So you can resolve what is the current flowing through this. So that is the way how to convert the current source have no parallel resistance at all. So you can convert like this, just like you are following Salt Lake campus to main campus in your convenient way. So this path, one path is blocked. Say there are different way you can get. So as per your convenient way, you have to choose the solution technique. So this is one way you are considered. This is the way for considering a current source having no internal resistance at all. Sometimes another problem. Do you have any query regarding this?
Sir, what if like we diverted the path, right? Sir, what if in one of the paths there was no parallel resistance?
I can't understand your question.
Sir, like let's say from C to D there was no resistance, sir. So then what would we have done?
Directly C to G.
Oh,
No,
yes,
actually,
yes.
current should flow. If this is a circuit is closed, then C and D point are same. If you omit this, say you are omitting this, I am just erasing this. So, so I am just considering this. If I consider this, so C point to F point I have to consider. Then there is no path I can go. So I have to
Yes,
convert
sir.
in another way. That means there is another path. There is another path. I have to consider this.
Sorry, I understood, sir.
I have to choose the path. This point and this point are same. Then this path, then this path. You got my point?
Yes, sir.
So you have to follow this path first. I think someone is trying to join. So you have to follow this path. Actually, path should be there unless you cannot go from Salt Lake campus to main campus. So there must have some path, and one path has been blocked. So there is a procession. So one path has been blocked. So you have to choose the convenient path to reach Salt Lake campus from Salt Lake campus to main campus. So there must have some path. There is a path. This point and this point are same point. So there is another path. There is another path, and then ultimate destination point is F. You have to reach to the F. You got my point?
Yes,
Sir, I have
sir.
a query here. Sir, please draw the resistor between C and D. Excuse me, sir. So please draw the resistor between C and D.
Yes.
Sir, now if I want to write the Mace equation for CDGE loop, sir, can I do that?
CDGE.
Yes,
You
sir.
cannot do this because there is a current source. So if the current source is there, you cannot do this. You cannot apply Kirchhoff's voltage law here. You have to convert this current source into voltage source. Then you can do it. Understand my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you see another problem. There may have some circuit having a voltage source but no series resistance. So I'm considering this is a 3 ohm resistance, this is 1 ohm resistance, this is a 3 voltage, this is a 2 ohm resistance, this is 4 ohm resistance, and this is 2 ampere current. We have already learned how to apply source conversion, that is current source into voltage source, the current source having no um, parallel resistance at all. So you can easily convert. This is your set source point, and this is your destination point. So you can go from this point to this point, means so C and D are same point. So you can convert this C to A and A to B. So actually D point and C point are same. So you can drive this current source from C to A and A to B. Then you can get there is a parallel resistance and um, current source. But now I want to solve this circuit in another way. Write this, look at the circuit, there is a voltage source, but that source has no series resistance at all. So how to convert a circuit like a voltage source having no series resistance at all? So I have to follow another technique. Say if there is a voltage source, okay, so it is, say, V, and there is another voltage source, so this is also V. Polarity are same. Joining polarity, those terminals are joined as if same polarity. So if you consider a voltmeter here, symbolically voltmeter is represented like this. How much voltage you will get?
V. Zero.
That means whenever two voltage sources are connected with identical polarity in parallel, then you will get the same voltage at all. So that concept I'm applying here in circuit theory. I can resolve the circuit. So this point 3 ohm resistance is there. This point rather I can draw the circuit here equivalently. Since this circuit equivalently I can consider there is another voltage source. Right? If there are two voltage sources are parallel with identical polarity, the actual effect will be same, isn't it? Please respond me.
Yes, sir.
I'm
Yes, sir.
just
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
considering two voltage source equivalently. Uh, those are connected in identical polarity, same voltage source. So actual point is same. So if these 2 points are there, so I can equivalently consider just I can equivalently consider there is a resistance, rest of the circuit is same. So I can consider this point by separating this terminal. Oh, there is another voltage source, plus minus 3 volt, plus minus. So another voltage source is there. So I'm just opening this terminal, and 1 ohm resistance is there. Then you can get equivalently this voltage source with series resistance, this voltage source with series resistance. So equivalently you can consider uh, then two sources are there. You can easily convert, since there is a current source, you can convert into voltage source, or rather you can convert this voltage source into current source. So this B point,
Sir,
yes,
so now the two voltage sources are not in parallel.
actually these 2 points are same points. This is driving, two driving sources are there. These two driving sources simultaneously driving current to this branch. So here, if I consider equivalently, since 2 points are equipotential point, though no current is flowing in between two circuits, 2 points, then you can open this. Why I am considering equivalently separating these 2 points? As because when this polarity is same and same voltage is driven here, 2 points are equipotential point. If there is a two potential equipotential point, there is no current is driven. So when there is a network, these are two equipotential points. So say these 2 points are equipotential point. So if it is V volt and this is say current is driven in this direction, it is minus to plus and this plus to minus. So this is also V volt. So plus minus minus plus. So actually neat representation is V volt. It will be open circuit. If two voltage sources are there and these are in equipotential, uh, uh, these are connected, two cells are connected with the same polarity, then actual voltage source, that is V minus V. So actual voltage, there is no voltage source at all. So you can open this circuit. Got my point? These 2 points are equipotential point and no current is flowing in here. So you can open these two terminals. When the no current is flowing here, you can open equivalently. That's why I have opened this. You got my point?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Now you can easily convert the circuit into the current source, voltage source into parallel resistance, there is current source and series resistance. Actually, this is a B point, 2 ampere current. This is your 4 ohm resistance. This is also 2 ohm resistance, but this is your A point, and this is a C point. This is a common point. So C point in between C and A, voltage source is there. So there may have some current source. So and parallel resistance, that means there is a resistance here, 1 ohm, and a current source here. And here B point, there is 3-volt source and series resistance. So there may have some B point to C point, there is a parallel resistance and a current source is there. The resistance value will be same, 3 ohm, and current source value, that is 3 by 3, that is 1 ampere. And here the current source value, that is voltage is 3 volt and resistance is 1. So 3 by 1, that means 3 ampere, 3 ampere, and this is your 1 ohm resistance. This resistance is 1 ohm resistance. This is 2 ohm resistance. So now you have got this circuit and you can apply Kirchhoff's current law. You can solve this circuit. There are 3 nodes. So 2 nodal equations should be there. You can solve this circuit. So this kind of circuit can be solved using source transformation, where the voltage source have no series resistance at all, or current source have no parallel resistance at all. You got my point? Do you have any query?
No, sir.
No. So I think this is your home task. This is your home task. You can solve this. This is problem 2. So this is problem 3. I have already put two problems in there, and this is your problem 4. Where this branch was not there. You have to equivalently consider this branch. So this is your actual circuit. You have to solve this circuit. So this is the problem 4. You have to solve the circuit and say you have to find the branch current which is flown here. Say what will the current which is flowing, say 2 ampere. What will be the current that is flowing, say 2 ampere. You have to solve this. Okay, this is your home task. Okay.
Sir, could you discuss about the lab?
Actually, this is class timing. I have to finish the class and then I will discuss. Okay.
Okay, sir. Sir, actually, we are not having any free time from 1 p.m. Every day we are having classes, so we could not manage the time.
Okay. After the class, I will discuss a few minutes. Okay. You have to.
Sir, do it before 11:50 because we have classes from 12 also.
So that is. Can you give me any one day apart from your basic electrical class?
Sir, we have classes on Saturday and Sundays also.
Sundays also.
The
Yes, sir. We have engineering drawing.
The Thursday morning we are apparently free, sir.
Which time?
The Thursday
Tomorrow
morning,
morning, sir.
Tomorrow morning.
Which time?
Sir, till 2:30.
Every time, sir. Tomorrow morning's free.
Okay,
Tomorrow
yes, we have the entire first slot. Oh, that one.
Yes.
Say anytime, sir.
Tomorrow morning, anytime.
Yes, sir.
Means no classes are there.
No, sir. Actually, we used to have sir engineering drawing in the first slot from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. But that was shifted to Saturday evening.
Okay. So I can get a chance that is your tomorrow morning. So before 1 p.m. I can schedule a class for lab. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I will tell 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Actually, few times will be required. So 1 hour time is okay. 1 hour time. So 11 to 12.
So we have to do 5 experiments in total.
Actually, as per your syllabus, I think it is 5 experiments. So till now, 3 experiments have been actually prepared for sharing you the manual. Okay. So latter 2 experiments are there. So
Can you make it to 10 a.m.?
10 a.m. Okay. So tomorrow 10 a.m. Say 1 hour. I think it will be required for explaining those
Sir,
experiments.
from this Tuesday we will be having our lab classes.
No, actually, lab classes it not required regularly every day because
No,
it,
sir. We are having lab classes scheduled on Tuesdays.
actually, as per my routine, it is on Monday. So as per my routine, individual routine, I have seen that Monday 2:30 is there, basic electrical.
Sir, you can do on Monday, no problem.
I can do, but 2:30 is a problem for me, and that's why I am just shifting this to before 1 p.m. It will be better for me. So regularly, it doesn't require for take your class. If one day I can explain 3 experiment, then it will be better. You can study and prepare the report and send me the report. And there is another link I have already shared you in your manual. You can see the virtual link is there. Uh, you can go through this link, the virtual lab experiment. But I think the experiment, 3 experiment, if I those experiments I have already sent to manual. If I explain this, it will be better for your understanding. I have to study also, and you have to prepare the lab report and send me the report through the email. Okay. Manuals are also self-explanatory. You can go through manual, and there may have some doubt.
Which manual, sir?
I have already sent to one manual, a basic electrical class in your uh, group email ID.
Yes, sir.
You
We have
can go-
received the manual.
Yes, you can go through this manual first and say tomorrow 10 a.m. It is your free time. I think I can schedule a class tomorrow 10 a.m. That you have told that no problem is there tomorrow 10 a.m. If I explain basic electrical lab tomorrow 10 a.m., then I schedule the time.
Sir, actually, we have classes every day. Tomorrow's class has been postponed, so our routine is like always filled up. Like today we have
Tomorrow,
classes from
particularly
10 to 2.
postpone for this week only. For this week only.
Oh,
Tomorrow's
okay,
class, particularly
Yes,
postponed
sir.
for this week, running week only. Or
Okay, sir. So it would be better for us if
tomorrow,
we
No,
run
every
according
day.
to
no,
our
sir.
schedule.
Every Thursday we are having a holiday. There is no
Okay, no
class.
problem is there. So if there is any doubt cutting class regarding your basic electrical lab, I can schedule Thursday 10 a.m. Okay. But I think regularly you don't need. If I explain, say 3 experiment in one day, very simple experiments are there. So 3 experiments are there. If I explain 3 experiment in one day, uh, then you can study this manual and you can make the report also. Then also, if you face any problem, then I can again share a doubt clearing class next Thursday. So I think I can fix up Thursday 10 a.m. is better for you, isn't it? So if you require any doubt clearing class regarding lab, basic electrical lab, so actually it is better for me before 1 p.m. Okay. So I can fix up a schedule for the basic electrical lab for Thursday 10 a.m. Right? Okay. Hello. Please
Yes,
respond me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So tomorrow 10 a.m. I'll schedule a class for you. No problem.
Okay, sir.
Now we have already studied the circuit theory, solution of circuit theory, applying node analysis, loop analysis, uh, Thevenin's theorem, Norton's theorem, maximum power transfer theorem. Mostly, as per your syllabus, DC circuits are there. So you are asked to solve a DC circuit using applying those theorems. Now there is another chapter that is your magnetism.
Sir,
I think you have already studied magnetism chapter, but uh, we can recapitulate this also. I think some lecture on this topic may be well known to you. Some of the students may require some new idea also. Actually, molecular theory
Sir,
of
I have one doubt.
yes.
Sir, actually in BL Thereja book, we are having capacitances, inductance and resistance in the circuit. So in the exam, will be given a mixed circuit or only resistive circuit?
No, no, actually, as per if you follow the syllabus, as per your circuit theory, as per your circuit theory that is mentioned there, means applying your circuit theorems or laws for solution of circuit, that is mentioned there, DC circuit. But in another chapter, when AC fundamentals are there, RLC circuits are there, their AC circuit solution should be there. But I am particularly saying about the chapter that is solving DC circuits, applying uh, circuit laws or circuit theorems like this. So mostly there is mentioned DC circuit, and that's why I'm saying that those circuit you are asked to solve in your exam regarding this circuit theory, that is your DC circuits, as in your syllabus it is mentioned. But another chapter is there, say AC fundamentals or RLC circuit. There AC circuit solution will be there. So you have to learn this also in another chapter. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now, basics of magnetism you have already known. That is your molecular theory of magnetism. So molecular theory of magnetism first proposed in the year 1852 by Weber. First proposed 1852 by Weber, and then it was modified by Ewing in 1890. So according to this molecular theory of electromagnetism, it states that all substances are inherently magnets. And those substances have very teeny, small magnetic elements. Those Weber termed this element that is called the Weber element. And these Weber elements are very small magnets having one north pole and one south pole. So as per this molecular theory of magnetism, it states that every molecules of any substance, all substance inherently are magnets, and in themselves that has Weber elements having very teeny magnets, Weber elements, and that have north pole and south poles. But in some material we experience magnetism, and in some material we don't experience magnetism. Molecular theory of magnetism, it explains this, that there is a orientations of the Weber elements. Sometimes these orientations are randomly, then you cannot experience magnetism. But sometimes these orientations are parallelly orientation, then when all the Weber elements having north poles are parallelly oriented in one direction, one side, and south poles are parallelly oriented in one side, then it will experience a magnetism. But otherwise, those molecules have no parallel orientations. Those magnetic elements, Weber elements, are interlinked in a closed path like this. This is a material having very teeny magnets, or these are termed as Weber elements. These Weber elements are like this. This is a N, this is S. Sometimes it can follow a path like this, N, S, N, S, like this. So there is a formation in S. So ultimately, so if I consider a direction like this, you can follow NS. So here N and this is S. So if I consider this direction like this, so there is a closed path formation. Ultimately, these are interlinked with one another, and this kind of paths, those are interlinked.
So here each line is representing one element.
Sn is one element, one Weber element. Here Sn is one
line.
Weber element.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so Sn is one Weber element. So if the Weber elements are like this, like this, so it forms a closed path. So the orientation is randomly fashioned, but sometimes a material is that whose orientation is like this. The Weber elements are like this.
Sir,
S in S.
sir, Weber elements are magnetic dipoles.
Yes, magnetic dipole. So like this, you will get south pole here, you will get north pole here. So parallelly oriented Weber elements, then it can form a group of dipole arrangement. So one side is S, another side is N. So as per this molecular theory of magnetism, so magnetism depends on the orientations of the Weber elements. If it is parallelly oriented, then it becomes magnet. If it is not parallelly oriented, randomly oriented, then it doesn't behave like a magnet. So this orientation can be created by applying the magnetizing force, and this magnetizing force can be applied by rubbing one magnet to another material that is changed to be magnet, or sometimes a material is there and there is a solenoid formation like this. So when there's a current is flowing in this circuit, so this is your solenoid formation. So if you see the circuit like this, and you will get, say, the direction of current passing through them. Say if I see the cross section here, if the orientation is like this, means clockwise direction, and in some cross section I can see the orientation of current like this, anti-clockwise directions. So if one side you are facing that clockwise orientation is there, then this term is south pole, and if on other side it is anti-clockwise direction, then this pole comes as north pole. So this is also applying magnetizing force by solenoid coil. This can make this random orientation into parallel orientation. Then it can be formed into a magnet. But it cannot explain in some cases where actually, as per this rule, as per this theory, it states that every substance is inherently magnet. So in every substance, I cannot convert into a magnet. There are some substances like water, quartz. As per this molecular theory of magnetism, I cannot explain that as Oersted, as Weber termed, that any substance can be converted into a magnet. That depends only on the orientation of Weber element. It cannot explain why water cannot be converted into magnetism, why quartz cannot be converted into magnetism, why wood cannot be converted into magnetism. So it fails to explain in some substance where this molecular theory of magnetism cannot explain. Another thing is that this molecular theory of magnetism also explains that if I create a vibration, then also if I create a vibration in magnet, then also this parallel orientation can be destroyed, and then also a magnet can be demagnetized. It also explains clearly that if there is if you increase the temperature of the magnet, then also there is a vibration in the Weber elements, and if you increase the temperature, then one temperature will come when this due to these vibrations, thermal agitation in the Weber element, that will destroy this parallel orientation. So that temperature, particularly at which temperature a magnet destroys its property, its property of magnetism, that is called the Curie point. You know it is very well that critical temperature above which the ferromagnetic material, there are different types of material: ferromagnetic material, paramagnetic material, diamagnetic material. Actually, ferromagnetic material are like iron, nickel, cobalt. So this ferromagnetic material at a particular critical temperature that can be converted into paramagnetic material that has no magnetism property. So that also explain this, that can be explained by molecular theory of magnetism, where this parallel agitation, parallel orientation of this Weber element can be destroyed by thermal agitation or vibration that is created by temperature. But I have already told you that modern view of that I have already told you that molecular theory of magnetism cannot explain why paramagnetic material cannot become ferromagnetic material. You cannot convert paramagnetic material into ferromagnetic material, or sometimes you cannot, in other words, you can say that paramagnetic material that cannot be, that is very weakly magnetizable, or rather it cannot be magnetizable, just like wood-like material. You cannot get the magnetism property. You cannot inherit this magnetism property. So this molecular theory of magnetism cannot explain this. Actually, there are some examples of ferromagnetic material, that is your iron, nickel, cobalt. Intensely, it can be magnetizable intensely, iron, nickel, cobalt, and some alloys. Paramagnetic material like aluminum, antimony, etc. That cannot be magnetized, and some diamagnetism that have very small example of that is the diamagnetic material that is difficult to actually there has no magnetic property. Water, quartz, silver, copper. So actually ferromagnetic material substance, you can get this magnetic property. But why a paramagnetic material cannot be a magnet? Why a diamagnetic material like water, silver, copper cannot be magnet? Molecular theory of magnetism cannot explain. Then a new theory of magnetism come, and that is called the modern view of magnetism. That is called the atom domain theory. This is the new theory, that is your atom domain theory. This new theory can explain why water cannot be magnetized, or quartz cannot be magnetized. These are the diamagnetic material, and why the substance like paramagnetic material like aluminum, antimony, that cannot be magnetized. This atom domain theory, it states that this magnetism property that is dictated by the motions of electron or the motions of electron around the nucleus of the atom, or motions of electron around its own orbit. So each and every electron of any atom that have some orbital motion and that have some motion on its own axis also. So orbital motion, that is around its nucleus, motion of electron that is around its nucleus, and it can flow different paths or different orbits. And motions of electron on its own axis, that is called the axial motion on its own axis, that is called the spin motion. So that is also dictated the property of any material, whether it can create dipole magnetism or not. So each and every motion, actually motion of electron are two types motion. One is the orbital motion, that is around its nucleus, and the motion on its own axis, that is called the spin motion. So these two motions can dictate the behavior of the atom, or behavior of the material, whether it can create the dipole moment or not. The gyroscopic behavior of any electron that gives rise to magnetic moment, and which may either positive or negative as per its spin orientations. So if you consider the orbital motion in one direction, that is positive, and orbital motion in another direction of electron, that is negative. So a number of electrons are there. So where it can dictate magnetic moment is positive or negative, how much electrons having orientation in positive, that is the motion, spin motion is positive directions, and how much of electrons having spin motion is negative directions. So if this total positive motions and total negative motions are equal, then the substance cannot behave as a magnet. But if there is an unbalanced positive spin of electron or unbalanced negative spin of electron, then it can be behaved as a non-magnetic material. So actually the substance like substance like wood, that is unbalanced positive spin. The substance of ferromagnetism or diamagnetic material, according to your excess unbalanced positive spin, means if there is a excess positive spin, then it will get a dipole orientation. But if there is a positive spin is neutralized to the negative spin, then it is a non-magnetic material. So wood is like a material having balanced electron spin. So there is no unbalanced positive spin or unbalanced negative spin, so it cannot become a magnet. So substance like wood, that is a non-magnetic material, because in their case the positive and negative electron spins are equal and they cancel each other. So this is your atom domain theory that can explain why wood cannot be a material.
Sir,
But yes,
sir, how is it decided whether the spin will be balanced or not for different material?
actually that is your its molecular structure depends on the criteria, whether the molecules have unbalanced uh, molecular spin, electron spin, or balanced electron spin. There are different number of electrons as per their molecular structure, atomic structure. So as per this atomic structure, there are a number of electrons, but in some substances, the electron spins, the total number of electrons having positive spin, means one direction, is not exactly equal to the total number of electrons having negative spin, negative spin. So unbalanced positive spin or unbalanced negative spin, that will create the dipole orientation, means actually magnetism, dipole orientation. So then it can behave like a magnet, or if these orientations, if these spins are exactly equal, the positive spin is exactly equal to negative spin, so it will behave as a non-magnetic material. But it's who will dictate this? that is dependent on the atomic structure of the material. So it has been seen that in ferromagnetic material like iron, nickel, cobalt, always the atomic structure are such that the electron spins are, whether it is positively or negatively uh, spin of electron, neat spin of electron, either it is positive or negative. So this is your atom domain theory. So you have to go to the atomic structure and then you can study whether which
Sir,
atomic
can this
structure.
be sir, can this be influenced by external factors?
Yes, that is influenced. That is influenced by that I have already told you. When the
Well, like
magnetizing force is there, then atomic spin structure also changes. So in some cases, say iron, that is not magnetized. So when it is not magnetized, this is just like a normal material. It doesn't behave like a magnet. But when it is influenced by another magnet, then this electron spin also changed. So neat neat electron spin, neat positive electron spin is not exactly equal to the neat negative electron spin. Means positive spin means direction of spin of electron on its axis. If it is one direction, then it is called positive, and direction of spin on the electron, if it is opposite, then it is negative spin. So if the positive spin, neat positive spin is not exactly the neat negative spin, then it will behave dipole orientation. Magnetism behavior will be there. So there is an influence magnetism of magnetic material like this, and atom domain theory also explain how a paramagnetic material cannot be converted into magnetism, and how a uh, ferromagnetic material can be influenced by a magnetizing force, and it can be converted into magnetism. But your previous theory, that is molecular theory of magnetism, it cannot explain this. Okay, so if you go to the detail of this magnetism chapter, then you can explain what is atom domain theory and how it can resolve, how it can derive this atom domain theory, uh, considering this molecular structure, why the iron can be magnetized considering this atom domain theory, and why it is why wood cannot be magnetized, just like a paramagnetic material, diamagnetic material, wood cannot be magnetized, and paramagnetic material like your uh, very weakly magnetizable, that is your aluminum antimony, that cannot be magnetized. So you have to go to in detail atom domain theory. So next thing is that introduction of magnetism, that is also you have already studied, that is introduction of magnetism in 1819. Hans Christian Oersted, a Danish physicist, he first proposed the theory of electromagnetism, and he first and Oersted found actually the experiment, that is well-known experiment, that is your needle experiment, when a magnetic needle is there and it is placed in a magnetic field, means current carrying conductor, then there is a deflection of the needle. So actually production of magnetism from electricity, that is your electromagnetism. And finally 1831, Michael Faraday, he formulated the basic law of electromagnetism and how a magnetism can be created by flowing electricity to a conductor. So this is your electromagnetic induction. So as per this theory, electromagnetic induction, every electrical machine can be explained. So it started a new era, electromagnetism, after 1831, uh, Michael Faraday, who explained this electromagnetism. Now we should study different the different terminology of this magnetic circuit, like the different terminology of the magnetic material. I think it is well known to you, but still I can just mention. Firstly, your firstly magnetic circuit. What is a magnetic circuit? Actually, magnetic circuit, it is just like analogous to the electric circuit. So it provides a closed path through which the magnetic flux can flow. That is a magnetic circuit. So one difference is that electric circuit always flow through any conductor, but magnetic circuit, the magnetic flux can flow through the air also. So only difference is there. But magnetic circuit is analogous to the electric circuit. Next, your magnetic field intensity. So if there is a solenoid like structure, there is a flow of current, and then there is a formation of N pole and S pole. So if the shape is like this, so a flux should flow to the air also. So it originates from the N pole and terminate to the S pole. So this is your magnetic circuit and this is your electric circuit. So electric circuit is there and magnetic circuit is there. So magnetic flux can flow through the air and also through the medium also. If there is a so current direction is like this. So flux direction. So flux, say it will originate, say N pole. Say this is your N pole. That N pole and S pole is dictated by the orientation of the coil in this magnetic material. Whether it is orientation is like this, then S pole, and whether the orientation is like this, anti-clockwise orientation, that is N pole. The clockwise direction, the S pole. I am assuming that here clockwise direction of orientation of a coil over this solenoid, over this magnetic material, and the flux always originate from N pole and it covers to a small part through the air and it gets path through the magnetic material also. So flux can go through the magnetic material easily, and when it is flown through the air, that is there is a opposition, And this, the terminology or the property which is delivering, that is your permeability property. So when the permeability is more, say for iron, the permeability is more than the air, so it will easily flow through the magnetic material iron. And permeability of air, that is quite low compared to the magnetic material. Then this medium, the air medium opposes more than this magnetic material medium, so it's analogous to the reluctance, just like analogous to the resistance of the electric circuit. So electric circuit, the reluctance property that opposes the current flow. In the magnetic circuit, reluctance property opposes the current flow. So that is dictated by the permeability. When permeability is more, then reluctance is less. When the permeability is less, then reluctance is more, like this. So this kind of two circuits are there. So magnetic flux can flow through the air also, but electric current always flow through the conductor. So electric path is always provided through any medium like the conductor, but magnetic flux can flow through a medium like magnetic material and even air also. Now, what is your magnetic intensity? I think you have already studied this. Magnetic intensity, that can be defined as the field strength at a point in a magnetic field. That is your force acting on a unit north pole. So actually, a magnetic medium is there. So that magnetic medium is created by any magnet. But if there is a unit north pole, means say unit north pole, that is a virtual pole, if you consider, adjacent to the magnetic material, adjacent to the magnet. So the force which is acting on this unit north pole, that is your magnetic intensity. So if you consider a magnetic material, and a unit north pole here, so the material magnetic actually magnet is there. The pole strength of the magnet is M. So as per Newton's law, that depends on the pole strength, that force, magnetizing force, that is proportional to pole strength of one magnet, pole strength of the another magnet, divided by distance in between two magnets square. So that is exactly equal to 1 by 4 pi mu 0 m1 m2. So m1 is the pole strength of one magnet. So if another magnet is there, that is S pole and N pole, so there is a magnetic attraction. So this attraction force, that is equal to 1 by 4 pi mu 0 m1 into m2, where m1 is the pole strength of one magnet and m2 is the pole strength of another magnet. So as per the magnetic intensity definition, if unit magnetic pole, means the pole strength is 1. So unit magnetic pole, if we just carry in any near to the magnet, so how much is the force developed on the unit magnetic pole? That is equal to, so m is the pole strength of the magnet into 1 is the pole strength of the unit magnet, divided by 4 pi mu 0. So actually into d square. Actually there also d square should be there. So that divided by d square. D is the distance in between the unit magnetic pole and the magnet, or magnetic field rather. So this is your magnetic intensity. And if you have magnetic field strength of any magnetic field strength is H, and magnetic pole strength is M. So poles actually force acting on the pole having pole strength M. If there is a M pole strength, so having a magnetic field H is a field intensity or field strength, and magnetic pole strength of a magnet that is nearer to the magnetic field, that is M. The force experience F is equal to M into H. Newton. Now, what is your magnetic potential? That is analogous to the electric potential. Actually, in electric potential, that is your that is the work done of a unit positive pole to carry from infinite point to that point where poles electric potential is to be measured. That is your electric potential. So to carry a positive charge, unit positive charge from
Sir,
one point, so infinite to that point, the work done, that is your electric potential. Just like magnetic potential, that is the work done for carrying a unit north pole from infinite point to that point. So work done by shifting a unit north pole from the infinity to that point. Someone is telling something. Tell me. Tell me.
nothing, sir, nothing.
So this is your force and this is your distance. So electric field intensity, actually magnetic potential, that is the work done of unit magnetic pole means one is the pole strength. So a magnetic field is there where pole strength is M. To carry a magnetic material, so actually the force which is acting on this unit north pole, that is M into 1 by 4 pi mu 0 r square, where r is the distance in between this unit north pole and a magnet that is creating a magnetic pole strength M. So that is the force into distance, that is r. So actually it will be equal to M by 4 pi mu 0 into r. That is your magnetic potential M. Next, your intensity of magnetism. Intensity
Sir?
of magnetism. Yes.
Sir, could you finish for today? SM ma'am told us to join within 5 to 10 minutes last day. It's already 12:05.
Okay, no problem. Okay. How much students are now? 40 students are now. Okay, I can stop here for your next class. Actually, Friday I will take this class, and tomorrow I can take a class from 10 a.m. for your doubt clearing class regarding your basic electrical lab. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You, sir.
Thank